When the #1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world threatens to vacate his UFC title before his first ever title defense, you've kind of got to listen. And Ilia Topuria has just shocked the entire MMA world with this one quote. If they give Arman Tsarukyan that next title shot, then they can keep the belt. And, on paper, it kind of sounds a little outrageous. The newly crowned 2-division champion, fresh off of first-round knockouts of legends, is saying no to the division's #1 contender. But, as always, with Ilia Topuria, there's more beneath the surface. And, this isn't a bluff. It's kind of a stance. Ilia Topuria just doesn't feel the need to defend himself to anyone. Not the fans, not the media, and definitely not a guy who pulled out of a title shot against Ilias Logic on 16 hours short notice. To him, Arman Tsarukyan's resume just isn't enough. The win over Charles Oliveira, Charles Bronx was too close. The track record's too shaky, and the timing's just too convenient. Ilia Topuria has just walked through the man who nearly finished Arman Tsarukyan multiple times. And now, he's asking the UFC, as well as Arman, for one simple thing. Clarity and a real, undeniable performance. One more fight. Because to Ilia Topuria, a title fight just isn't a reward. It's something you've got to earn. And if you're new to the channel, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share so it can help me reach 3,000 subscribers by May. I'll deeply appreciate you. And make sure you join the official UFC Discord, link in the description. Alright, so look. When Ilia Topuria recently made headlines by claiming that he would vacate his lightweight title if the UFC forced him to fight off against Arman Tsarukyan next, it quite literally shocked the entire MMA world. The current pound-for-pound #1 fighter in the world right now, undefeated, coming off of a string of emphatic victories over 3 future Hall of Famers, and fresh off of capturing his second world title, is now threatening to walk away from the lightweight throne before even defending it. And, on the surface, a lot of fans as well as critics might think that this is a little irrational, and Ilia Topuria might be doing a little too much. And, a lot of them are calling it, cowardice and ducking. But to others who truly understand the nuances of what's happening here, it's something entirely different. And Ilia Topuria just made a stance built on merit, principle, as well as legitimacy, and not fear. But first things first, let's start off with a little bit of context. And, Arman Tsarukyan is the #1 contender at lightweight, and he's earned that position with a razor-thin decision victory over Charles Oliveira, Charles Bronx. And honestly, while it was a fight that could have gone either way, I personally gave it to Arman Tsarukyan. And, it was a technical back-and-forth scrap with some moments where Arman Tsarukyan looked great, but also moments where he did kind of look a little vulnerable. Now, that same Charles Oliveira, Charles Bronx, who gave Arman Tsarukyan so many problems, was just flatline stiffened in the very first round by Ilia Topuria in one of the most definitive performances of the year. And, now, with that being said, you've kind of got to put yourself in Ilia's shoes. Because from Ilia's point of view, the math is simple. If I just dismantled the man who you barely edged past, then why should I feel compelled to fight you right now? But then again, it's a whole lot deeper than just MMA math, because Ilia Topuria's beef with Arman Tsarukyan doesn't come from fear or this imaginative fact that he's quote-unquote ducking. It comes from a lack of trust. Let's not forget that the only reason why Arman Tsarukyan hasn't already fought for a world title yet is because he pulled out of his already scheduled world title matchup with Ilias Logic on just 16 hours short notice. citing a back injury that was never publicly confirmed. And, that decision, whether justified or not, kind of buried some bridges with Arman Tsarukyan as well as the UFC higher up as well as leadership. And in a company that prioritizes dependability and event security, that matters immensely. And so while the UFC may not trust Arman Tsarukyan right now, neither does Ilia Topuria. And so, to Ilia, giving Arman Tsarukyan the next title shot would kind of send off the wrong message. He's not saying that Arman should never get a title fight. Nah. He's saying that he should earn it in a definitive, convincing way. And, there's a difference. And this isn't about fear. It's about standards. And Arman Tsarukyan has already had his moment against Charles Oliveira, Charles do Bronx, but it just wasn't dominant. It didn't feel like a statement. It didn't feel like a man who was ready to dethrone the top fighter in the world. It felt like someone who still had so much more to prove. And, not only that, he already got his shot, but he sold it to Brazil and threw it away. And, as the saying goes, one man's trash is another man's treasure. Ilia Topuria's. And now Arman Tsarukyan's just watched Ilia reach even higher to superstardom with that same chance that he threw away. And now he wants it back. So Ilia's logic is clear. Go out, beat someone else convincingly, and then step to the king. And the thing is, Ilia might be right. I mean, if Arman Tsarukyan was truly championship level caliber and material, then let him fight off against someone like Adan the Hangman in September, perhaps at a UFC Perth. And if he wins that fight clean, you make the Ilia versus Arman Tsarukyan matchup for December along with Islam Makhachev versus Jack Della Maddalena. You see, to me, that's not ducking. It's setting a standard for how champions should be challenged. You don't get a title shot off of a controversial win and a sketchy past with UFC obligations. You earn your way clearly. And as for other names on Ilia Topuria's radar, and I'm talking a Justin the Highlight and a Paddy the Batty, sure, from a competitive standpoint, Arman Tsarukyan is a tougher fight. I mean, no one's denying that. But at the same time, neither Gaethje nor Pimblett have had recent pullouts, nor have they compromised any UFC main events. I mean, Justin the Highlight is a former interim champ, a fan favorite, and is always delivering pure violence inside of the octagon. Paddy the Batty, on the other hand, whether people like him or not, he is one of the biggest stars in the sport today. And, from a business angle, those are so much better viable options than a, in and out Arman Tsarukyan. But even then, Ilia Topuria hasn't finalized anything yet, and he's just made it clear that he doesn't think Arman Tsarukyan has earned his shot just quite yet. And honestly, that's kind of fair. And, for all those who are claiming that Ilia Topuria is quote-unquote scared, let's be real right now. This is the man who just slept Alexander Volkanovski, Charles Oliveira, Charles do Bronx, and Max Blessed Holloway in 3 straight fights. He is the pound-for-pound #1 fighter in the world right now, holding 2 belts consecutively. I don't care about him vacating the 145-pound title. He didn't lose the belt. He's holding 2 of them right now. He's the undisputed king of 2 divisions. In what world does that man fear Arman Tsarukyan? Let's be 100 right now, y'all. But at the end of the day, Ilia Topuria just isn't running from Arman Tsarukyan. All he's doing is just putting the pressure back onto him. And, he wants Arman Tsarukyan to have one last dominant performance before stepping onto the big stage against the undisputed pound-for-pound king. And, that's not disrespect, it's honestly discipline. Because that's a man who values greatness, and not of his own, but the greatness of his challengers as well. So instead of accusing Ilia Topuria of quote-unquote ducking, maybe we should listen to what he's actually saying. Be undeniable, be clear, and be ready. And when Arman Tsarukyan does exactly that, then Ilia El Matador Topuria will be waiting. But that's all I've got to say for this video. Let me know in the comment section below what do you guys have to say about Ilia's quote on if the UFC make him fight Arman Tsarukyan next for his first ever title defense at the lightweight division, he's just gonna vacate the belt. Do you think that he's doing a little too much, or do you think that he actually have deeper motives to, saying that quote? Let me know in the comment section below. But that about wraps up the video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.